Maddox became very known for our pants, which is funny because that was like the worst thing out the gate for us.
What happens when you have a bunch of bad product like that?
You try to sell it to people.
Yeah. Because like,
check out the stability in these jeans.
Do you want no movement in your jeans?
And welcome back, everybody, to another awesome episode of The Careful Boys. And today we are blessed to have BD back in the building. So Bart recently threw out on his IG stories, letting people know that you, his famed and esteemed mentor, was coming in.
I didn't see it.
You didn't see it? No. You don't follow Bart, huh?
He hides his stories from you.
But he asked if anybody had any questions. So we had a couple people send in some questions, so we're going to go through a little bit of that.
Somebody knew who I was?
Somebody called you the GOAT, by the way.
Damn.
GOAT. You know what that stands for, Nick?
Ask Ryan. Ryan?
No idea.
Go. So this person,
domesticated farm animal.
Thank you. This person, I don't know how to pronounce it. Adoa. Anyways, Adoa's response says, "How has the industry changed, and do you think the same company would be relevant now?" I guess in context, if you were to start it now.
I'd probably say the same company would not be very relevant now, but I do think you would just have to approach things like so differently, just because the way people shop and consume things is so much different than it was,
Can you dive into that a
20
bit?
years ago? Yeah, I mean, I think just like social media specifically has just changed the way you market to people, you talk to people, and honestly, like from when we launched DVS, Maddox, Lakai, those brands, I mean, that was pre all of that, It was all about magazines and print and videos that came out that were based around the athletes, where all that stuff is not nearly as relevant as it used to be. I think the idea of like the product building and the product you make is still, like, that process is still the same, but how you sell it and how you market it is totally different, primarily just because of social media and the consumption of media.
has it all gone to influencer marketing for like streetwear and everything that is like youth clothing and...
Honestly, I think it's been kind of the same. I mean, influencer, athlete, right? It's just, they're just being used differently these days.
The platform's different.
Yeah, okay.
Like before, like we all would geek out on getting an actual print magazine. Now, when's the last time anybody got a print magazine? Like, I still personally like to get them to, like, there's certain ones I really like, but like the general, and especially kids, no.
For sure. And the best print magazine of all time back then was Maxim.
Like the, okay.
Sure.
I was allowed for that.
If you hypothetically, thank you, Nick. If you hypothetically owned like, I don't know, like a gym or something like that, how would you in today's relevant world be like, I need to blow this thing up, I need to market this in a way that it's on a better website than like a Craigslist of business sales?
I'd probably just call Bart.
See? I know what to do. I look at the white space and I figure it out.
Ton of white space.
I have no idea.
When you first came across, like when I first pitched our brand, what were your initial thoughts? Was it like, oh, that's an interesting way of doing things? Or I don't know how these guys even got to where they are. Like, what was your initial thoughts on it?
I thought it was super interesting. I mean, you had the gym part of it, you had the actual, like, the apparel, the supplements, you had all these pieces. And even kind of looking at the org and stuff like that with you. You had, like...
He recently sent me this picture. So
I asked him for his org chart when we're like, it was, you gotta show him.
Oh, I will. When in our
He's the guy that you were telling me about.
one of our first meetings, and he's just asking the most simplest questions. And he'll be like, so can you send me like your org chart? And I was like, what's that? He goes, like how people talk to each other in your company, like how the workflow goes and the communication. And I was like, I never even thought about it like that. So I had to go make one. And then he literally sent me
I found it the other day and I texted it to him. I go, you remember when you sent me this? You guys have to see this.
And it's a
This is amazing.
fucking nightmare because everyone needs to talk to everyone for something to happen.
But the way he built it, I was like, oh, that's how Bart's brain works right
But
there.
then this is wrong because you look at successful companies, it's like things are very compartmentalized.
Yeah.
So people can run. With this, it's like this thing needs to get made. Well, this guy has to put his 2 cents in, and that puts his 2 cents to make this 2 cents.
That's a spider web.
But then if it's
exactly.
pre-2017, this person ran this part. So now we got to loop this person in. Oh, this person was randomly in this project in 2019, so we got to bring this person.
Oh my God.
So I was like, does this work?
And I very nicely, I was like, I think I can help you with that.
So what did you find most like, I guess, attractive of Barbell, but also what was like your biggest red flag?
Jeez.
I think just like Bart and Gio were just like very passionate about it, and we're always trying to find like passionate founder entrepreneurs like that need more operational support. And there was something there. Obviously, they both have a really big following. There was a YouTube element to it, which we love. So it had all these really good pieces. And so, yeah, I don't know. We just weren't able to kind of like financially make it make sense for both of us, you know? And I think obviously from him being a, creator, influencer, his org was very heavy on marketing and content creation. So I was like, yo, you got like fucking 12 people over here and you got one person making product.
That's right.
Want to like balance this out a little bit, you know?
Yeah, he'll be asked like the simplest questions, like, which country buys you guys the most? I was like, huh? And he goes, what time of day do you have the most sales? I was like, I don't know. And I'm like, fuck, I feel like this is how you
Probably
unlock.
lunchtime.
I'm like, god damn, I don't know shit.
Damn, those are tough questions though.
I just make dope shit and I promote it.
Yeah, he was even asking like what is your best-selling product? I think at that point, like, and I was like, oh, I don't know. He's like, what about like your tees or hoodies? Like just something as simple as that. And I was like, oh, I don't even know. We just keep making things. I don't know.
So was your workflow just cranking out things when you were inspired and then just get it up to sell?
No, I think our work. So we do have a general like temperature of what people like, the designs they like, and we just keep going forward. But it wasn't until I met with BD where I'm like, oh, you should actually analyze how the year did to forecast next year. Because then now I can go, oh, if we're gonna sell like, let's say 5,000 black tees, you can use that information with your vendors. Hey, next year we're probably gonna hit 5,000 to 7,000 black tees. Can you give us a bulk discount? So through analysis and taking and slowing down, you could actually start increasing margins without technically being better at business or just being more efficient. And never even thought of it like that. I was just like, oh, they said that one was sick, let's make more of those. And just keep going, whatever is sick, let's just do more sick shit without like looking back and going.
That's a passionate guy right there.
Hey, but I will say, in Bart's defense, like 6 months later, he came back with actually a pretty legit plan. And I was like, wow, these guys actually started thinking about this. They had all their SKUs listed out, their projections on each of them, and yeah, they were making moves.
So did you, like, parallel to his story, run into a same type of learning curve or have somebody come in, or was it just like always present because maybe you're like dad's experience or your older brother?
Oh no, it was like major learning curves. Early on in the business, we had a guy named Mark Feig join, and Mark was one of the early guys at Nike. And when Mark came on, he taught me a ton. Still communicate to this day with him. I remember I was building the very first line list, price list for Maddox, and he had just come in to consult with us. And he's like, what's the margin like on these? And I'm like, what's margin? Like, no idea.
You ask
know what I
questions
mean?
like that too?
Yeah. And then
He was probably 20.
and then he comes in the next day and he slides me this margin calculator, and he's like, here, you're gonna need this. And I was like, and literally he really taught me how to like frame up lines and business and stuff. And so a lot of that kind of architecture of like building out like product and stuff really starts from the beginning. and he was super helpful in kind of me like really starting to get a really good foundation on like how to build stuff. My dad was more on like the finance side. He understood numbers really well, how to work with the banks, how to get, you know, inventory financed, where Mark understood that, but Mark was more on, you know, development and understood like product cycles and what to do and how much we need to buy them for and how much we need to sell them for type of thing. And so he was very influential for me, like learning all of that. But to really answer your question, yeah, we fucked up a bunch before we got there.
What up, guys? Thank you for watching us for so long. If you like what we do, please support our Patreon. Joe, tell them what we have to offer.
So every week you get 2 videos. One never released director's cut, and another one 2 half for YouTube, Patreon only. Every freaking week you get that, and you get access to our Discord where you can come chat with us.
And ask us questions that become episodes here, because we're gonna answer them and we're gonna take it seriously, and we wanna give you the responses that you want. So come stay connected with us, join our Patreon, click the description below for full details.
Sometimes always like the most simplest things that are most revolutionary too, though, and it's crazy because you can't see it until somebody tells you.
Yeah, no, totally.
What was like some of your biggest like oops moments?
Oopsie daisies.
Well, probably the first one was when we fucked up all those shoes. And then not too long after that, the first whole collection of Maddox fit horrible. I mean, it was like, it couldn't have been any worse.
The shirts and the
More of the pants, like t-shirts, all that kind of stuff I was already making before, so that was pretty easy. But more of the pants, I really hadn't done too much like bottom work before, like, and the pants fit horrible. But the good thing about that was that I really learned how like to work with design and really make sure like we had like proper fitting like pants, which is cool because then later on Maddox became very known for our pants, which is funny because that was like the worst thing out the gate for us. Like we could not get rid of them. You put them on and like your legs would barely move.
oh, that's what it was.
Yeah. So
What happens when you have a bunch of bad product like that? Like, do you sell it to
you
Ross?
try to sell it to people.
Yeah. Because like,
Check out the stability in these jeans. Do you want no movement in your jeans?
You
When you
start at
fall, it
like
doesn't hurt.
$12. You're like, how does $12 sound? And you're like, how about 8? How about 6? Yeah, you just have to get rid of it.
Haggle at the
the
register.
clearance rack from your store is just, or do you bulk sell it to other?
Yeah, with that kind of stuff, you're trying to bulk, just like get rid of all of it.
How did you even get to Maddox from DBS?
As far as like launching it? Or?
Yeah, just like.
Oh, well, it's kind of
when
what
you
I was saying
decided-
earlier. Is like, you know, it became like, you know, there was only a couple companies at that time. There was Drawers, which was a part of DC at that time. TSA. There was like a couple skate clothing companies, and then there was a bunch of like surf ones, like Quicksilver, Billabong, Volcom, like all
Rusty.
Of those. Yeah, and so it was kind of the same thing with the shoes. There was this opening for skate clothing, specifically that wasn't surf clothing, and so you know we ended up my brother Kevin and I on the Maddox venture partnered with Day One Song and Tim Gavin, which yeah, and so that was kind of the group. And Day One was a big part of DVS. He was interested in doing the clothing thing, so we kind of partnered on that and then launched that under DVS.
Wait, did you guys ever beef it with other companies, like in the skate world?
Somebody actually wants to know about Osiris and DBS drama.
Did you guys ever have drama?
I don't really remember any.
That's how you show you won the drama.
Like, what drama?
That's cold. The guy's like, ooh. He said he doesn't remember. That's how you do it.
Osiris shoes were crazy.
Yeah.
They were like hella thick ass tongues and stuff.
Yeah.
They were loud.
Yeah, they had a model, the D3, that they sold a shit ton of them.
Were you close to those guys? Like the
I mean, we'd all, like, literally the whole industry is not very big, so you'd all be at the same shows together, and, like, it's like a traveling circus of, like, you know, that kind of skate / action sports industry, you know? So yeah, you just kind of know everybody through doing the same stuff.
Do you kind of miss that? Like miss the camaraderie of it? Because when I started going to like when I got closer with Bobby and I would like go to like Agenda or different shows, it seemed like everyone knew each other.
Yeah.
Even people that you don't think are in the same industry. And then I would bring up names, and then this person was like, oh yeah, I know that person. And then you're like, oh shit, like everyone in here has known each other for like 10 years. Do you kind of miss that?
Yeah, dude, that part was great. There's just so many like good relationships and connections and stuff. And even now, like, you know, pre-pandemic, the shows were already kind of starting to slow down. They just weren't as important anymore. And then pandemic, and then there's not really much in like shows. Now you're starting to see them come back. I think the outdoor space has done a really good job of like creating consumer shows, not just like wholesale trade shows, which I think is great for the market in general, you know. But I totally miss it. I mean, it was, and now, you know, with Golden Circle Group, we do a lot more direct consumer business. So we're not really going to shows, and, you know, we do wholesale with bigger box guys. So you're just working with a handful of guys. So you don't really need to go to a trade show to do that.
Is there still like a skate clothing industry, like in the same way that when you were coming up in late 90s, early 2000s?
Yeah, no, there totally is. I think it's probably it's more of like skate street, you know, than
more
just
streetwear.
Yeah,
like
there's
fusion.
there's a lot more of that, you know.
Thrasher. Because like I used to work for a street clothing company as well, but this was like early 2010, 2011 time frame.
Okay.
And even then, like social media was still like very brand new. Instagram
Yeah.
wasn't really out yet. So like I was still doing things like going out to events in order to shoot blogs. We were still going to like the Magic Show in Vegas and stuff. And I was also just cold calling different stores, mom and pop shops, or retailers in order to try and get our product out there.
Yeah.
But the concept of direct to consumer now, it seems like it's the prevalent form of like getting sales on your stuff. You can get some like sick ass buzz on social media marketing, and then people are just buying from your website because that's usually the biggest margins anyway. Unless you land like a giant chain retailer across the nation, right?
Yeah, totally.
Is that kind of like the focus for all your new and upcoming projects? Is it
Most
mostly...
of them are, but you know, I mean, there's still an element like when you're like cold calling people. Like, I don't know if you guys had like territory reps, you know, like selling
Kind
stuff.
of, yeah.
But I mean, especially when we were growing our businesses, like we had such a great group of sales reps. Usually, like a territory in the U.S., you'll have like 12 to 15 sales reps, but they're like this massive marketing arm for you. You know, they're out selling the stuff, but then they also have their own team riders. They're like flow riders. So they're like an extension of the brand in all these different territories. And that was a huge part then of like really building out some of the businesses and having like really good sales reps in all those territories.
And those sales reps will get like commission off of their accounts, right?
Yep. Yeah. And some of them in good territories, they do extremely well.
Yeah.
So, and you know, the ones that do well typically then carry multiple brands. They're usually not brands that are competing, you know, they're not like trying to go in and sell two clothing companies, but they can have clothing and shoes and sunglasses and whatever, sunscreen or something. So they can go in and sell like a mix of stuff. Usually it's not competing stuff.
At that point, did you just have like a killer sales rep that was able to like get DVS into a bunch of other stores outside of 118?
Yeah, and the cool thing was with 118, since, you know, we were buying all these other brands, we knew all the sales reps, especially for Southern California.
So you already had that network.
Yeah, so we had a really good network of like which reps, you know, are coming in, and through that we then hired our Southern California reps, and then all the reps go to sales meetings, and then they're friendly with other reps, so then we're able to go, hey, who do you have, like, who do you know out in Florida? Oh, talk to so-and-so. Or who do you know in, you know, the Mid-Atlantic? Okay, talk to so-and-so, you know. So that was kind of how those different territories grew.
What happened to whatever happened with the original shop that your family had?
We ended up selling it to some family friends, and then they operated it. God, here it goes with more dates. That
Get
was
'em right,
like-
Yeah, how old were you when you sold it?
I don't remember. So it was right around we launched Lakai in 2000, and then they took over the shop in 2000, and then they operated it for another, I don't know, 3 or 5 years, something like that. But at that time, we were just getting too busy with the brands and stuff, and then trying to do retail. Early on, though, it was huge because since we sold all the other brands, we got to see all the pricing, we got to see all the product lines. So it was like, for a long time for us, it was like a really good just kind of merchandising platform to be like, you know, this is like what's selling really well, these are the price points. So we're really able to kind of like architect our lines based off of what we knew was working, especially in like Southern California.
Yeah, you get so much data.
In the fitness space, have you heard of a brand called Young LA? That's kind of how they blew up. They used to make clothing for everyone, and I think because they knew what people liked, and so they already had like all the back end figured
They're
out.
manufacturers?
Yeah, they started off as manufacturers, and then so when they dropped their first line, I think they already knew what the market wanted, and then they just exploded. And I think like they probably will cross the $1 billion mark probably in like the next year or two. And they're already sponsoring like the top UFC fighters and all those guys. And I think it's super valuable to have had made clothing for all like these top influencers. Yeah.
You get like firsthand knowledge of what's working, right?
That's cool.
So how old were you when